Welcome to the JoyWorks show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business, right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success, not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and on this podcast, we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often, the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. And in this episode of the JoyWorks show, I am delighted to welcome Lisa, the founder of Mother of Merch, to talk about what it really takes to build a business with heart. From crafting as a passion to running a bespoke merchandise company. Lisa shares the lessons she's learned about knowing your audience, staying true to your values, and using community as a business superpower. Merch isn't just about products, and we go into that and so much more today, but it's about people, connection, and creating something that truly matters. We talk about the realities of self-employment, the role of integrity in business, and why joy and authenticity matter more now than ever when creating something meaningful. We may go off tangent quite a bit. There may be some politics. There may be some Disney, there may be some laughs and things in between. But if you've ever wondered how to turn your passion into a business, or you just love a good story where somebody has and they've made big, bold moves to make it happen, then this one's for you. But as always, it is so much better to hear it in their own words. So let's go. Hi, Lisa, and welcome to the JoyWorks show. I am so delighted that you are joining us today, and because we know each other fairly well, I'm a little bit scared about where this conversation might go and what we might actually tell people, or we might just stick to what we need to stick to, but who knows, this could literally go anywhere. But before we get started, and because I know you, I'm not going to presume that everybody else does, although they should, let us know who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Sheffield, London girl, born and raised, and I am the owner of Mother of Merch.
Okay, so what is Mother of Merch to begin with, and how did you get there?
Well, Mother of Merch came about very randomly, to be honest. There was no intention whatsoever. And I mean, again, knowing what I'm like, we could go back like 10 years here. So I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter than the full 10-year story.
No, stories, we love stories, go as long, far back as you like.
My child. No, we won't go all the way back. So what we do is we do bespoke merchandise for businesses. And it literally, any business, if you're a dog walker, if you're a hairdresser, if you're a coach, whatever it is, we do merchandise for any type of businesses and make it actually relevant to the business instead of it being a pen or a mug. Don't get me wrong, I'm a stationery fiend. I love a pen, but it's not relevant for a lot of businesses. But it started, I was doing personalised gifts before this. That was a very accidental business. It was whilst I was on maternity leave. I was bored, basically. There wasn't enough to keep me occupied, so I started crafting. That turned into an accidental sort of side hustle business thing. And then I met someone who was, I don't know, they just got light bulbs sort of sparking in my head. And all of a sudden I was like, I could do what I'm doing, but the businesses instead, and make it really bespoke and specific for them. And then the Mother of Merch was born, and here we are, really.
I love it. I do love it, because merchandise is, I think lots of people think that merchandise is for only certain types of businesses, and you automatically go to either people who are like product-based businesses or people who do something like as events, or they're going to be selling merchandise, because you see more personal brands and things popping up now. But I think a lot of small business owners in particular think that I'm not big enough to have
reach as well for a lot of them, because I mean, we don't, that one of the things that we do is we don't have a minimum order quantity. But like a lot of businesses, when they look to go and get merch, you know, the smaller places are a minimum order of 100. Well, that's still a big step for a lot of businesses, especially when you're first starting out, because you don't have that sort of available funds. You don't know if you're going to need 100 of something. The branding might not be ready. So, there's loads of different reasons as to why sort of smaller businesses don't think that merch is right for them. But it can be, and it's an amazing way to grow your audience as well if you do it properly. Like, you can create some cracking things to hand out at events and that, but people just go for the standard, I'll order 1,000 pens and just hand them out, and that's going to make everyone come to me. And it just isn't. And I always feel really bad when I tell people that, but it isn't going to bring people into your audience.
But it's not, and it goes back to that, your messaging and your brand as a whole, that you could have a pen, and a pen could absolutely work for you, but what does it say? What does it look like? Why would somebody keep it? Why would somebody take that pen and keep it with them and not just be another pen that ends up at the bottom of a bag or in a bin or in a gift bag that you forget to take from the event?
The kitchen drawer that everything goes in to just fester.
Yeah, and it doesn't ever see the light of day until you decide that once every 5 years, clear that drawer out and go, I remember that event. All right, okay, and now I've forgotten it again. So, but it's about thinking about what it can do for you. And we've had these conversations where I've obviously had a conversation with you about merchandise, and I said, but if I hadn't have known you, I don't think I would have reached out at that point to a merchandise business. And I think it's as much to do with the way those other merch businesses are set up as much as it is about my knowledge of merchandise. So what is the kind of traditional elements that you're trying to change about
I like that question.
the merchandise business?
So there's two main things. I'm going to go three. We're going to say three and we might change our mind and only give two. We'll see what happens. The first thing that we're really trying to do is bring back the human touch. So we do like discovery calls to find out if it's right for people. And then because we have like a service-based side, so we do like e-commerce websites and in-person events for people as well. We do an onboarding call for that aspect of it. And it means that people get to really sit and look at their brand. So instead of it being a catalogue, because that's the biggest barrier that we're facing at the moment, is everyone's like, oh, can you send the catalogue over? And we don't do a catalogue. We don't have, like a specific set range of products, because that isn't how businesses work. What's right for you isn't right for the next person. Even if you're in a very similar niche, your audience and the way that you work is completely different. So they're the two sort of biggest hurdles that we come up against, is, getting people to see that they don't have to do what everyone else does. So that's why we don't have a catalogue, and the human approach, instead of it just being browsing through 20 pages of products and getting bored halfway through, not knowing what's right, and again, just ordering the first thing that ended up in the basket. And then the third one, there we go, we are going with the third one. One is combining it all together. So again, with the service staff, it's, that we all host the e-commerce website, so we take that stress away from people. A lot of the drop shipping is they have to go out and source the product still and, manage it and do loads of admin work behind it. Whereas we're like, that's not, for someone that isn't a product-based business, that's not their niche. They don't really understand the different parts of that. So we take that work away from them. So it's just trying to get people to look in at their brand, looking at their audience, do all the things that you do for every other element in business, and just apply that product.
And it's, it's so important. It's so interesting. Like, as you know, I do a lot of work with people on their ideal clients, their dream clients, as I would call them. And for you, it's exactly the same, because you want businesses that your dream client is those action takers. So for me, you telling me you don't send me a catalogue is a dream, because I know that if you send me a catalogue, whether it was a PDF online or whether you actually sent me a catalogue in the post, it would be in a pile of to-dos, because then it's overwhelmed, and it's overwhelmed with choice. And I think that's why, and I love your take that your processes are that you want to have that call with people to really get into the nitty-gritty of the business, because you're positioning yourself not only as the expert, but also the person who can guide them through that. And I think there's a lot of product businesses that could learn from that, because as we've had the conversation before, when somebody says to me, but I'm a product-based business, I need to do things differently. Do you? Do you really need to do things differently? I mean,
there are nuances, 100%
of course there is.
are, but like I mean, we've done similar business courses, and it's just about the application of it. There is never a one size fits all anything, and that's what the courses also teach you, which I think is funny, is because you have to be able to adapt it to your niche, your industry. The appliances of it all still works in exactly the same way. So for me, I know that my dream client is an entrepreneur or a business owner, depending on what level they're at. For me, the corporate side of it we can absolutely do, but that isn't my dream client. My dream client is someone that started their business from scratch and worked their way up. Beforehand, before doing the courses and stuff, if someone had said to me, "What's your dream client?" I'd have been like, the one that pays me. I don't like, I've had no idea at all. But now that I've done all that work and actually applied it, I've completely pivoted my business, and the difference that it's made is just out of this world.
But it's like that thing, it's like I say, like, you want that person, you don't want the person who just wants the catalogue to tick that must look into merch, tick, I'm getting a catalogue sent to me. You want the person who's like, I need to look into merch, but I actually, like, when I had the conversation with you, even though merch is still on my got to get sorted list. It's on my dream list right now. It's on my wish list. But what I spoke to you, I was like, no, I need to know how it works, what it costs, what my options are. And a catalogue doesn't tell me that. A catalogue just gives me brain ache, to be perfectly honest. So I know with the business owners that you want those action takers. You want those people like, I need you to tell me exactly how these intricacies work, what it can do for my business, and how I go about doing it, because that's the only way you get to make a decision.
Yeah.
As a business owner, when you've got decision fatigue and you've got all these other cogs in your business moving, you have to decide if it's the right thing for you. So your dream client is those action takers. But like when I asked you the question of what are you trying to get away from, the kind of traditional ideas of merch and product and those types of things, part of what you're doing now is an education of what it can actually be like. And that's what makes your business sound so exciting for me, because it's like, no, you want this, but look how it can be done. Look what you can do. And yes, if you're having events, of course a pen is a good idea to have on a table for people who forget to take a pen and that. But what does it say? What does it look like? What colours are it? What else are you doing? If I think there was somebody you did a jigsaw for. You did a jigsaw for somebody?
But yeah, we've done jigsaw. Honestly, the random things that we've made, it's ridiculous.
But I think it's that thing of people don't even know that what they could actually have that would fit their business. Does a dog walker want pens? Absolutely not. Because
and that's the thing, you don't have that knowledge. As someone that isn't a product business owner, or even, if it isn't specific to their niche again, you don't know what's in that catalogue. So, you're going to just look at the standard sort of stuff that you see everywhere on all of the merch. I mean, if you Google merchandise, I guarantee you what's going to come up is there'll be a bit of apparel, so jumpers, t-shirts, a tote bag, pens, mugs, a flask, maybe a hat if you look far enough down. That's it. That is what merchandise is, and that's all that you see. Like, for example, we're going to, I don't know when this is going to come out. I don't know if it's going to be before or after the event.
It depends. I don't know what event you're going to say, but I think it'll come out before. If it's the event I think you're going to say.
Big festoon?
Yes, before.
What we're doing?
Before. I will make sure it comes out before.
So this is going to come out before I go to the big festoon. One of the things, I don't know if I should tell you now because I haven't told anyone, but one of the things that we're going to make, and I say we because I'm definitely collaring my 7-year-old in to help with it, and I'm wearing them at the moment, to be fair. So, like, he makes me do loom bands all the time. Like, he absolutely loves making loom bands. So I'm going to do some loom bands that are yellow and black with little bees on them. Because that's something that people could wear on the day. It's like that community feel. Everyone's got one, and you can like show it with the bee and stuff. People can take little pictures of it and obviously post it, which means then that, you know, the IADPB page and things like that are getting tagged in photographs. And that's what merchandise is meant to be about. You know, it's been, and we did a blog post on this the other day where we did sort of like a back in time in regards to merchandise. And we went, and I mean, back in time, I was in Egypt. Do you know what I mean? We were talking about like the walls and stuff with carving. So we went back in time. But the first person that ever really sort of started the trend in regards to it was actually the first president. And he was the one that obviously came up, or him and his team. I'm guessing it wasn't actually him, but that's when they started doing the buttons, the badges and stuff. And it was, you know, something new, and people would hand it out and you could then have a conversation. And then people wanted the badges. So then they're going to obviously go and learn more about that president. And that's what merchandise is meant to bring.
But it's the power of community.
100%.
You know, and when you're talking about the big festoon, and that's Danny Wallace and the Hive, you know, and it's a part of that is the feeling of that community is that the majority of them want to belong, have found a place they can belong, and are proud to belong. So the fact that they can now wear that bracelet, bangle, and loom band. My children are too young to make these things yet.
To that stage, don't you worry.
I know, I'm a few years, but a few years yet. Loom bands, then they will feel that they belong, and they'll wear it. And from what I've seen from that community is they'll wear it every day, and they'll wear it to other events, and it'll start conversations, you know, and it'll start conversations on the train when somebody sees it, and it'll start conversations in the coffee shop. And so the way of like word of mouth and talking about your cause, your community, your services, your offerings, whatever it is that you're trying to, the marketing campaign that you have, if somebody's wearing the thing, and that's the same as, you know, the jumpers or a hat or a tote bag, if it's right for your brand, because people want to wear the thing to say, I'm part of the club. I'm part of that group. I am part, and I'm showing up as that group, and then other people want to belong in that group.
Yeah.
For whatever the values of that group are. So that is why that is so brilliant, because it transcends the walls that event is in. Yeah. So even if you do a really great event that people love being in, you need to think of a way that they talk about it outside after the euphoria of being at the event dies down.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why it's such a brilliant piece of merchandise, and I really look forward to seeing them, and I look forward to you having to make however many 100 million you're going to have to do.
Because the thing is, I'm sat here saying, like, I'm going to get George to help me, knowing my child, because I've actually ordered the stuff and I'm just waiting for it to come. In a week's time, he's going to be like, I never want to make a loom band again.
Yes, I don't do them anymore.
Silly little things going, oh, this was such a bad idea.
But it's the stories behind things as well. Like, you know, the podcast episode that's coming out tomorrow is all about Rachel Barber, our content creator, who's all about stories. In fact, her business is called Creating Stories. And so much of marketing is telling that story. But the fact that your story is that it's something that my son loves, and now I'm taking it to this community that you love and you're so proud to be part of, bringing it into that event space, that I know that the people at the event will love that story, you know, and then, so it's not only getting Danny's story past those four walls, it's also getting yours. So no, it's brilliant. I really, really like that idea. But let's take a step back. So you got into crafting, and that's what led you to merchandise. But what is it? Why did you want to start a business of your own? What were you doing, and why did you want to start a business?
So I definitely didn't want to start a business. Like, it was rogue. So I was on maternity leave. So prior to this, and you know, now one of the reasons why I have teal and purple hair, but so I was in the army for 15 years, and I was on maternity leave with my little boy. Now I know I didn't at the time. I am a very spicy individual. Making a lot of things make a lot more sense about my life now that I didn't know beforehand. So apology if anyone can see, I keep fiddling with this. It helps me pay attention. So any other spicy people, get fidget, great. But yeah, so I'm not very good at doing nothing. And obviously babies sleep a lot. Like, they're hard work. But this whole like nap when the baby naps, I couldn't do it. Like, I'm not very good at just nodding off at any given time. So, you know, the house was always impeccably clean. There were like snacks whenever anyone came round, and I was like, I need something else. I'm meant to be losing weight, and all I'm doing is eating a lot of cake at the moment. So I started crafting, and I've always been told since I was in school that not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I was kicked out of art classes and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, I mean, to be fair, I can't draw. I can draw a stick man. It's about as far as my drawing abilities go.
I don't think I can even do a stickman that well. I think even people don't even understand what my stickman's trying to be. My children are severely disappointed.
I want to play Pictionary with you because I think we'd be really good together. I know what that is straight away.
It's just a line, Lise. Yeah, no, but I know what she's trying to draw.
That's it. Next time it's games night. We're doing Pictionary. But so I started crafting, thinking it was going to be one of those. We'll be bored of that in a week. Oh my gosh, it's the most addictive thing I have ever started. Right, please, I need to make full disclosure here. I am not going to be held accountable for anyone's bank balance if they start going down this hole, because it is terrifying how many machines there are out there. I was like, I'll just get this one little machine, but then I need this machine. Now I need another thing. And before we knew it, I'd taken over like the downstairs floor of the house to kill me. He was like, you really need to stop buying things now. Like, I was just making for friends and family. And then it was very much, I've run out of things to personalise. I've run out of birthdays to celebrate. And then friends started asking if they could buy cards. And I was like, I don't think that's a thing. Like, didn't really have any idea. Had never even dreamed of owning my own business. So obviously I can focus in on what it was like to run a business and what I needed to do. And my accidental business was born. Oh God, I did everything wrong. Like, every single thing you can do wrong in a business, I did it. And then learned the very hard way what not to do, what I should do, changed a lot. We were moving country, we moved locations like 3 times. So, it was very stop-start. And then eventually got to a point where I was like, do you know what? I hate my job. It's taken me away from my family. I don't want to be away from my boy anymore. It's time to commit and to go full whack with it, really. And then I didn't do it because I was scared. We had a house in the army. We didn't have our own house. So there was this whole financial stability aspect that I really needed to contend with. Obviously, being self-employed, it's the unknown, isn't it? You don't know, is my business going to work? Is it going to generate enough for us to have a mortgage and all of the other things? And then props to Mr. Stephen Bartlett. He is, not him, to be fair, it was Barack Obama, but he quoted it, so we'll give Stephen some credit. Shout out Stephen if you hear this. He, on one of his podcast episodes, and it was something along the lines of, you're never going to get to 100%. When you get to 51%, make your decision and know that you've made the best decision you can with what you had.
Mm-hmm.
I probably quoted that terribly, so I'm really sorry for anyone that knows the actual quote. But it's something along those lines. And literally the next day I went into work and I was like, I'm done. Signed off. I have to give a year's notice, so it's not quite quit my job and leave in a week. So
yeah,
we moved to Sheffield, bought a house, did all the big scary stuff. We did it all backwards. And here we are.
But did you see, so when you were leaving, the thought of leaving something that is as institutionalized as you can be, I can't think of anything more. So, there's teachers, there's the NHS, but I
prison,
think
that's probably the only one.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to think of you in prison. So
if this goes wrong, Danny, I don't know.
But yeah, so to go from that institutionalized way of living in so many different ways, and I don't think people realise, like you say, the moving the countries, the having a house with the army. It's it's a whole life. It's not a job, you know, and it goes past vocation as well, I think. How do you even think about a business? Because and I don't know if, well, with the neurodivergent thing coming into it as well, like to all of a sudden have all this space.
Oh, that's the thing that I found the hardest. So beforehand, there was like a structure to my day. You know, I'd have to take George to nursery by a certain point. And again, I don't know if this is a spicy thing or if everyone does it. I don't know. But I have to work backwards. So I'm like, I can't just go, I'm going to set my alarm at 7. I'm like, no, I need to be here at this time, which means I need this amount of time to drive. And then I need to get ready. And then I'm going to need 10 minutes to do absolutely nothing. And then I'm going to give myself some spare. Like, it's just a whole thing. But I had structure, so I could map out exactly how my day was going to look. Like, obviously, that period during work, I had no idea what was going to come in and what we were going to have to deal with, which kept it interesting, I suppose. And then I'd come back and I'd know that, you know, dinner time, bedtime, which gave me a couple of hours in the evening to work on my accidental, beautiful side hobby that got me to where I am today. So it was really good. And I got obviously thrown in. It was self-inflicted, but I went full-time self-employed and I just sort of come to my office to sit down and go, what to do now? Oh, no, so I would write out a to-do list 6 times a day because obviously I'd want to redo it and make it pretty, and procrastinate because I didn't know where to start. Even though I knew all the things, it was hard to get that structure in place. That's definitely been the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, it must. I mean, I think that's hard for anybody. You know, it was hard for me. It's an ongoing thing for me. And I think it should be for anybody because nothing is ever one and done. But I think when I left the private sector, but I had a maternity leave, but I went straight from maternity leave to being self-employed. And so it was a bit of a strange thing, but I still not having that structure, what my day would look like, even if, like you say, it was a structure of demand, and that you turned up to the workplace and it was just like things come at you and you fought fires or did what you needed to do or whatever it was, to then suddenly be like, all right, okay, I know all the things that I need to do, but I don't quite know the order I need to do things. I'm not quite sure about my prioritization. And then because you're doing things with all the hats and for yourself, our old friends doubt and fear and all of the things that when you're in a place of employment, you still have those things, but you have a bit more of a support network around you, even if it's just a practical support network around you, that is easier to kind of show up. Whereas when it's just you and you don't have somebody going, I need this, it's very easy to just say, I'm too scared, I'm not going. The thing
I think is the funniest out of all of it, obviously you were management. I was like middle management. I'm not going to try and blow my own trumpet here. But every day I would go in and look at what needed to be done and delegate the tasks to people and would set the order and set the priority and stuff like that. But now that it comes to me having to set it myself, I'm like, I don't know.
What do I do? How do I send an email? Who do I send it to? But it is a total different mindset. And I think I was just really lucky in the space that I think the sector that I was in was incredibly entrepreneurial. So when you did get to a certain level within the business, you had to be like an entrepreneur, you had to act like an entrepreneur, and that's how the industry expected you to show up, because you were creating something out of nothing on a daily basis, because it was sales and marketing driven. But so I definitely think, because I've got that spirit, I don't know if I could have done it without having that spirit. I don't think I'd still be sitting here today having this conversation if I didn't have that spirit. So when I hear people coming from so many different backgrounds and having the bravery to start their own businesses, it honestly floors me. And to, as I say, to come from something that's so institutionalized and then
I don't think anyone would employ me though. I swear.
Well, this is the other thing. Yeah, this is the other thing. And it's funny in the online space as opposed to the in real life business space. is that you do see a lot of people coming from the army, coming from being a teacher. You're even beginning to see people who have a medical background come into the space and start their own businesses because the institutions aren't quite working the way they used to work or should be working. Don't really like that word should, but they definitely should be working differently. So, the online space creates that opportunity for people to come and thrive because the skill set that all those groups of people that I just spoke about have is phenomenal. But quite often they don't see the skill set that they have, because they are so institutionalized.
Yeah. Just part and parcel. It's what you all do, and it's weird to think of it as a skill set. Like for me, one of the things. So I can't believe I still remember all of this. But one of the things that you sort of live by as such is something called sea drills, and one of the things in there is integrity. To me, I never saw integrity as a skill set. It was just be honest. I don't even know if I've sworn. Am I allowed to swear?
You're allowed to swear.
Delightful. If you fucked up, just own it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realise that integrity was something to shout about, because to me, that's just your daily bread. Do you know what I mean? Own what you've done. If you've made a mistake, rectify it, admit it, whatever it is, and be honest about who you are as a person. Don't try and be a chameleon and sort of fit every situation or whatever. Just be your own person. But then coming into the business world and integrity being a big thing was mind-blowing to me. I was like, well, isn't everyone just full of integrity? I don't understand that. Like,
it's amazing.
It was learning that was.
And it's amazing. And I suppose the one big difference between people who have been in the business world as opposed to people who have worked in public sector jobs is the money motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute that people lose their integrity, the minute that people have to shout about their integrity is when at some point the buck has become more important than the person. Whereas in the public sector, probably why some chief execs of councils and stuff have a few things to answer to, but the workers, the worker bees, the people that turn the cogs, they're not motivated by money. They still want to get paid, but there's no motivation to do a job any differently based on how they're going to get paid, as opposed to the private sector, as opposed to the type of positions that I was in. When integrity was definitely something that some of those people I worked with could learn a few things about. But that's it, and it all comes down to money and power. And when money and power is the motivation, that's when integrity can go out the window, which is why I do think in the online space, some people shout about it, rightly so, and then other people shout about it when perhaps you could just live it. But that's down to...
It feels like some people, and not all, because like you say, I've seen a lot of people talk about integrity and they are loud and proud about what they are doing. It isn't, integrity is really important, and then don't sort of follow through with the actions that then show that.
Yeah.
But it just, I think there was some things that people talk about just really confused me, because I was like, why are you telling me that you work in integrity, or what? Like, doesn't everyone? And then you would see people's actions, and I was like, oh no,
not everybody does. That's not how some people feel that they need to show up today. But it's just that thing. It's the same why we now talk about kindness in the business space. You never would have heard that 15 years ago being spoken about in any public or private, and why we look after people now, and why there's so much good that can come from it. But whilst there's money and power, people are always going to kind of lose sight at times. But that's
we can see that with everything that is going on in the world at the moment.
That's a whole nother podcast episode, I feel, and it's not really the theme of this. I don't think I could have a joy podcast and then talk about that, to be perfectly honest. Because I don't think there's much joy in any of it.
I think, do you know what? I will say one thing, because you're right, this is the Joy podcast, and the joy that I'm getting is seeing people standing up and fighting back. That people, they know that there is support out there. It might not be in the right places at the moment, but that's something that is lovely to see, is watching the support that is now starting to happen and people rallying round. Whereas before, I don't think people would have stood up about it. So that is a joyous.
I know, and it's so difficult. There's been lots of conversations in this house about kind of having platforms and what you should say and what you shouldn't say. And there's so much to say that it almost becomes difficult to say anything. But I also think there's a lot to be said for people that are just continuing to try and do the work and they might not be shouting from their social media platforms. They might not be, but they might just be trying to change it from the communities that they're building, from the conversations that they're trying to have quietly on a daily basis. That are sometimes the hardest conversations, because like some people would go into their social media and shout about some of the things that are happening, but then put them in a room with their friends and family, and somebody across the room,
completely different way.
Yeah, and somebody across the room, Uncle Bob, let's call him, says something that he shouldn't. We've all got one who says something that they shouldn't say. That is, whether it's whatever it is, racist, sexist, whatever it is, and you stay quiet.
Because my brother was having an Uncle Bob in our family.
And you don't want to say anything.
Because I'm not good at being quiet.
But this is it.
My brother and my sister are both part of the LGBTQIA+ community. If you attack that community, you are directly attacking my family. Me. Uncle Bob, stand by, because it's not happening.
But those are the conversations that are going to change the future. Not somebody saying a social media post, which are still important because that's campaign and that's political voices. But it's those small conversations that are happening in living rooms that are going to change, because that's the only way there is generational change. The conversations, and you're having conversations that you feel are important, no matter how uncomfortable they feel for you. And I'm not that political a person. That felt quite political soapboxy to me. And I'm not that political a person.
Sorry guys, we went down a whole path.
That is not, when I said at the start where I thought this conversation was going to go, that is not one of the spaces that I expected us to go into. But we went there. And it is really important because it's a really difficult time in the world just now. But I think if you can take anything from our that little last few minutes of conversation from us, is just keep trying to show up in the best way that you possibly can for the things that you think are important. And
absolutely,
you can make a difference with a conversation in your living room. Now, we've touched, as you know, in this podcast, we have 3 big questions that everyone has to talk about to do with joy and joy in their work. And we have touched on a few of yours as a conversation, but it's absolutely fine. We'll just come right back round to them. So your joy spotlight, the favourite thing that has shaped your life, business or work. You said your boy. Just as well one of us is prepared.
I read them as well. No, 100%. I was thinking about the Stephen Bartlett thing, and
that's the next one.
For this, I don't think I should have, but I stopped and doubted
myself. You put your boy because he's the reason you started crafting and why this journey began.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the reason I spent a lot of money on craft machines, because he was quite boring as a baby. He slept, he ate, he farted, and that was about all he did, really. So, but for me, he was the reason why I wanted out of the army in the first place anyway. Like, I didn't want to spend any time away from him. I wanted to go to his Christmas days, however bad they might be. I wanted to go to his parents' evenings, and I wanted to never have to worry about what was going on at work and whether or not I'd be given the time off. And, all of that stuff is something that's out of your control when you're in an employed job. So, yeah, I really wanted to be there for him and to give him stability as well, because obviously we moved. I mean, he was 5 when we moved here, and I think it was like his 5th house by the time he was 5.
And I was
like, no, I want him to have friends that he can grow up with, and to just know that he's going to go back to the same school next term, and never have to worry about moving here, there, and everywhere. And like, his dad was a pad rat as well, so he was a kid whose parents were in the military, and I've just realised I'm saying things and people might not understand it. So like, he grew up moving all over the place, and then they finally settled down and stuff. And it's, for him, his first sort of school friend as such that he still keeps in touch with wasn't until I think he was like teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there wasn't that stability beforehand. Don't get me wrong, it's a perfectly acceptable life, and some people choose that.
Well, some people enjoy it and thrive,
Yeah.
and then the family thrive because of it.
Exactly that. But for me, it just wasn't what I wanted to do with George. So, I think you do anyway as a parent, don't you? Your kids are your motivation, your why, your whole reason for being after you have kids.
Yeah, but I started my business after having 2 babies. I cannot sit here and say, oh, I would have done it regardless. I don't know. I don't have a time machine to go back and see if that's the path that I would have taken. But it definitely was the catalyst, because I wanted our life to look different for us. And like you, I wanted to go to I struggled to have children. So when it came around, I was like, I didn't go through all this to then not be part of the things that I want to be part of. And I don't believe that women can have it all, or if you're the caring parent that you can have it all. I think you can have everything at different times in your life. And I don't truly believe in like the freedom business type model, but I believe that you can build a life where you have choice and
Absolutely.
freedom of choice, I guess, then. So I wanted something where I had the choice that if my child has something that I need to go to, I can make the decision, and it's my decision. It's not based on guilt or responsibility from somebody else's point of view. And it was a hard decision. It wasn't an easy decision to make, to walk away from certain things. But I think, like you said, it's how deep is your why. And when it's as deep as that, then I think you can jump and find the courage to do a lot of things. So the second one is you're inspired by joy. And that was your Stephen Bartlett one. So that was the one that you listened
somewhere.
That you listened to a podcast episode where he mentioned a quote from Barack Obama that when you are 51% sure, make the decision and you quit your job that week. So to circle back to that, and I didn't ask the question at the time when you first spoke about this, is what do you think it is in you? There's lots of people who would have heard that podcast and heard that quote and would have thought, oh, that's amazing, that's absolutely right. They'd gone and told their other half about it that night, but they just would have gone back into their job tomorrow and done the same things again. What is it? Do you think it's something in you? Do you think it's a personality trait? Do you think it's the spiciness? Or do you think it's just that your why was that deep and you knew it was time?
Do you know what? I think it was probably a combination of all of them. I was already at the point where I hated my job. So I think I was like, I can't remember how long in the time, but prior to that particular posting, I'd loved my job. There were parts of it that were shit, but that's part and parcel of any job that you go into.
Part of things that I do now that are shit.
You know what I mean? But that particular posting for me was so toxic, it was so frustrating, and there were things that had been messed up that were out of my control, that it was then my fault that these things had messed up. It was just a whole weird level of situation. And I think it was one of those that had I have heard that podcast 6 months earlier, nothing would have changed. It was the right time of hearing it and just knowing that I was already in that sort of mindset. And I was probably at like 60%, but that 40% was fear, and knowing that it was because I was scared. And I was like, I can't live life. The one thing that I have always told myself is I will never live life with what ifs. What ifs keep me up at night. And again, with the spicy, there is enough going round in this head at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't need to add to it at all. So I try my best not to live with what if. If there's a conversation that needs to be had, I'm going to have it. So when I heard that podcast, I think it was just a mixture of everything and it being the right time. And I just walked in, I was like, I'm done. Not doing this anymore. And then weirdly enough, I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, everything I'd been sort of like trying to sort out with work all got sorted. And it was like, so are you going to... I was like, no.
No, I'm still going.
I've made my decision now, goodbye.
And was it a decision you had to make as a family? If you were both... Were you both still involved with the army at that point? So
Jimmy had jumped first.
Okay.
Jimmy, I always tell him that he saw the light first of all. So he'd already jumped ship. So he was then stable and set up in his job.
Okay.
So, he knew where I was at. He knew how much I hated it. He could see that I was just drained. And then I think after I listened to the episode, I just went in and I was like, it's happening. And he was like, no, it's not. Like, not yet. We haven't gone through it. And I remember saying to him, because he'd text me to say that he'd applied for another job when he was still in the army. And I was like, what? I didn't even know you were searching for another job. Like, I'm very confused. So I obviously reminded him of that. And I was like, I think you're fine that you jumped ship without any conversation with me. So I'm just repaying the favour. And he didn't argue with it. He was like, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, just went in the next day. And I was like, okay, bye.
It is amazing when these things kind of happen. And I've said for like the last 18 months, like, I'm not that woo, and I probably am quite woo, but I truly believe that you hear a thing, you see a thing, a catalyst is sometimes you hear the thing you need to hear at that point, and it can come from the most unexpected places. So I really do believe in kind of the universe looking after you.
And I don't even think it's just that. I think it's because, like you said, someone else would have heard that quote. They would have put it to the situation that was required from them. For me, I heard the quote and went, what? I mean, bearing in mind, Barack Obama, he's talking about things that are happening in the Situation Room. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not talking about quitting your job. He's talking about whether or not you're going to war the next day. But for me,
where the nuances are that, it's that tiny, tiny amount that's difference between. But that when it's our lives and it's the people that we love and the decisions that we make, that feels that big to us. Especially when there's small people involved that they don't have a choice yet of the decisions that we make for them. So it's a very difficult. There's been lots and lots of conversations in this house over the last 2 years since I decided to go out on my own and what that meant for us and what it looks like. And it's an evolving situation all of the time, depending on what you can take on and what income you're bringing in and what you want to do with the business and hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Versus time and childcare. It's an ever moving. Okay, and the last one is the joy killer, the thing that you think should just do one from the whole.
So I remember this one. I have 2 answers for this one. Yeah. I'm going with the first one. No, I'm going to go with the second one first of all. I hate dickhead. Just putting it out there. All right, there is no need. If you don't like someone because of who they are as a person, absolutely fine, don't talk to them. There is no requirement to be a dickhead about it. Like, not got time for it. No, just don't be a dickhead. Be a nice human being. Be kind to everyone. There is no need to be any other way. And it takes us on to the first one. And I feel terrible, and I've been trying to think of his name since I put this down, and I can't remember it. One of the boys I used to work with said this thing. Well, probably wasn't even his quote. He's probably got it from somewhere else, and I'm just giving him the praise for it. He said there's 2 types of people in this world. There's sponges and there's radiators. Sponges are like the morale-sucking hoovers. So, the people that walk into a room and you're like, God, and you instantly feel your energy being sucked away from you. And then there's radiators, which obviously give out all the love and the heat and the warmth, and they're the people that you want to surround yourself. So my thing that I hate is sponges and dickheads.
And quite often they're the same people.
Yeah.
And it's just that when you meet a radiator, and quite often when you hear their stories, you're then like, how are you still a radiator? How are you still a radiator when you've been through all of that and there's this sponge next to you who has got nothing to complain about, yet that's all they've done since they arrived today, regardless of how many solutions people give them. I mean, it is just, and it is, and the world is full of them. And that doesn't mean to say that it's not just about being negative, or it's not just about being like, obviously joy is all over my business. JoyWork Club, JoyWork Show, JoyWork members. I mean, it's joy, 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 joy. But I am the least kind of joy person. ever. Do you know what I mean? You know exactly what I
We
mean.
should do that more often.
No, but it's so funny because it's so unnatural. Like, I'm not like, you know, those people who are happy, go lucky, bouncy people.
You're on
I'm
about
not.
Joy from the film.
Yes, I'm not her. I'm probably somewhere between angry and sad most of the time. Probably more angry. But I refuse, like, the whole reason why joy is such a big part of this, because I believe it's a choice. I believe that I can get up today and I can be little Mr. Angry and like swear and like, I mean, my hair, like, you know, the fire, you know, it's,
Told you that, so you know who you are.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, it's the fire, it's the thing that's who it, but I can take a little bit of joy and I can try and be like her and I can try and see the world through her eyes and you can learn to see things in a different way. You can reframe things and you will be, regardless of anybody else around you, but you'll be happier because of it.
You can't control what is done to you, but you can control how you react to it.
Yes.
Like, again, another quote, no idea who said it, but it's, you physically cannot control the world. It's never going to happen. So, you know, take into consideration what you can control, and everything else you have to let it go. We're going down a whole like Disney theme.
I know. We've now done like politics. We're now doing like joy and motivational speaking.
I'm looking forward to the summary of this when you type it up.
It's going to be an
we talk
interesting
about
edit. It's going to be an interesting edit to see what did they speak about then and nothing. What could
what's
people
your
get
favourite
from?
chocolate. Get it all out there.
No, but it is, and I do think that I truly believe in choice, and I believe that you can make a choice today that this is a type of human being I want to be and I'm going to do. And some days you won't succeed. Some days I am definitely more little Mr. Angry than I am Joy. But other days I'll get to the end of the day and go, do you know what? Joy did all right today. She did all right, you know, and she got out. And it ultimately comes down to that I just want to be kind and help people. And I just want to show up, and I want to show up for my family and my business and all of it in between. And that's what joy is to me. Long story short. Okay, so if people want to know more about you and actually want to talk about merch and their business, to go right back to the start of this podcast and the reason why we're there.
I do instead of all the other stuff we spoke
If they want to have the conversation with you about the other stuff, then I'm sure you'll be absolutely open to it.
Oh, I'm here for it.
But if they want to come and find out about merch for their business, more of what you do, more about the people that you're helping, where do they come and find you?
So I am on Facebook and Instagram as Mother of Merch, and then the website, which is also Mother of Merch. You can book in for discovery call. You know, we try and talk about merchandise, as you've seen from this conversation, but who knows where that's going to go. But yeah, we can really get into the sort of nitty gritty as to what would be good for your business if you are looking for some merchandise.
And I would really, really recommend to anybody who has always wanted to see their brand on something and want to dip their toe into merchandise, but are scared or unsure or think they can't afford it or think their business isn't big enough or think that it has to be done a certain way, to just have a conversation with you, because my eyes were opened to what is able to be done and how easy it would be for me when my business is at that point. It really is simple, and it can be so simple to get started. And I don't think people think that it is.
No, it's definitely been made to be really complicated, and it's not.
Yeah, it isn't.
Sorry
Isn't.
to the
And
industry.
it's not
really
something to be scared of or think that your business is too small. And actually, it might just help your business take the next step. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, don't think I'm going to let you go, because I always ask this question to everybody before they leave.
Oh no.
And this shows how much you read the email before.
You're calling out the spicy in me. We all know I didn't read the email.
What joy legacy do you want to leave behind?
I want to leave a joy legacy of you can do it as yourself. So I don't know. That to me would be a joy legacy, because it means that everyone can show up as their true self in business instead of trying to be everyone else. And for me, as long as my kid takes that, I'm happy.
And I'm going to leave it there because there is no better
Get that out the bag.
way. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lisa, and everybody else. Keep finding the joy. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Lisa and all the tangents it took. But ultimately, Lisa's shown that the real secret to building a successful business, that it's not just about products, it's about people. And her journey with Mother of Merch is proof that when you combine creativity, integrity, even though she doesn't like to say it, and a deep understanding of your audience, you create more than just a brand. You build a business and a legacy and a life. And along with that, as always, here are my own personal takeaways from today's conversation with Lisa. To know your audience inside and out. This one really connected with me because it is so deep in all of the work that I also do. And the best businesses don't just sell, they connect. And they're able to attract their customers to them just by showing up and nothing more. Understanding who you're serving makes all of the difference. Integrity is everything. Lisa said herself that she feels that to have integrity, somebody shouldn't need to say it. But it's so important that with the values in our business, we embody them in our everyday life. And in a world of quick wins and shortcuts and overnight successes, supposedly staying true to your values will always set you apart from everybody else. And lastly, that community is a superpower. Whether it's customers, collaborators, building a support network, business isn't meant to be built alone. Nobody gets to the top just themselves. And if this episode resonated with you at all, let's keep the conversation going. DM me, share your biggest takeaway, or tag us on social media. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, then send it their way. I would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. I would love you forever. It means that more people can find us and we can keep showing up and doing what we do. And just before I go, if knowing your audience, getting to know your customer, and some insights into business is what you were all about, then I actually am hosting a focus group next Monday, the 3rd of March at 2 p.m. and also on Tuesday, 11th of March at 10 a.m. to find out exactly about you and your business and what your challenges are and what you're looking for from business support and what you need within your business. And it's called the Insight Circle. And if that is something that you'd like to find more information about, it is completely free. The link is in the show notes. Go and have a look at it. Find out if it's something you would like to take part in. There are prizes for the people who take part. All of the information is there. Check it out in the show notes and I would love to see you there. But until next time, keep building, keep believing, and most of all, keep finding the joy in the work. See you later.